Hello, everyone. My name is Svitek, and as you guys know, I love bringing you the best information. And every so often, that means I get to bring on people that I know and respect onto the show and interview them. And today, I have an incredible guest, Susan K. Wehrley. I've known her thanks to her incredible daughter, Alex Wehrley, who is I can't say enough good things. And
Uh-huh.
having known Alex for so many years, I've gotten to know Susan, and I am just floored by everything she does. And I completely understand where Alex gets her talent. But
Oh,
Susan specifically, um, she has been working with amazing thought leaders for 35 years, if not more. She is the owner of BIZremedies and the author of 13, count them, 13 books and a recent bestseller called Shift. And that's what we're primarily going to be talking about today, but I'm sure we'll veer into various tangents. Um, tell us about Shift, and because it's specifically a book on manifesting, and that is a
that's right.
topic that I'm certainly interested in. I feel like a lot of people are very interested. So give us the lay of the land, if you will.
Yes. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for having me on your show and thank you for such a wonderful introduction. Of course, manifesting children who are vibrant and healthy and always was really important to me. So that compliment just touched my heart. So thank you. But yeah, shift. So I've been an executive coach for, as you said, 35 plus years. And in working with people, of course, what they've wanted to do is manifest the life they love at work and at home. And I've always been very curious about what blocks them from doing that and what helps them to do that. And I draw a lot from my own personal childhood experience to learn about manifesting, what works and what doesn't work. And I've tested it for many years. And then voila, I put all my best practices in the book Shift.
Yeah, see, that's what I love about you, because there are, not to discredit them, but there are other coaches who talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk.
Mm.
And I know at least a little bit of your story, and you definitely walk the walk. And so, can you
Wow.
can
Thank
you
you.
share that side of it, if you don't mind, like how you've
So
applied? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I think it was my life purpose. So, as a young child, I was an intuitive and was able to manifest a lot. Thank goodness. Where it really worked in my life was at home with my entrepreneurial mother, who would be on the phone talking to her clients and her vendors. And I would be in the background listening. And then I would just be like, geez, mom, I wouldn't have said it like that, or I wouldn't have done it that way. And she was always very open and, wow, you're so wise and so brilliant. I got a lot of positive affirmation. But when it came to one aspect of her life, which was this big secret she had around my birth father, she had strayed from her marriage. And again, here I am, this intuitive little child at 5 years old saying, hey, mom, that's not my real dad, is it? And she shut down my intuition by saying, that's your silly imagination. So a wound became very much around this area of trusting my gut and manifesting in my personal life. So seeing this contrast, I became very curious about what really blocks us and what helps us to manifest. And at age 33, I had a breakthrough and figured it out.
Okay, wait. So tell us about this breakthrough, because I feel like that's the moment we're all trying to get to, right? We all have these childhood traumas, whether we had good, like, I think all parents try to do their best, right? But we all suffer in some sort of way through society and stuff like that. So tell us the breakthrough moment.
Right. And first, I want to piggyback on what you said. Our parents don't mean to squelch our intuition and our power and our ability to manifest. They just have either strong opinions or things that they're, protecting in their life. And when they come in so strong and they squelch us inadvertently, they really, suppress our ability to manifest. So in my case, I told you what it was. But what happened at age 33 is my life was kind of falling apart. I'm in my second marriage and I was a hot mess. And I'm like, why can't I manifest what I want? And of course, I'm asking God in the universe this question, right? I'm being open, I'm being curious. And what's happening to me is that 33 years old, I'm getting these dreams that are taking me to this place when I was 5 years old, when I really saw my real birth father and understood who he was. And all of a sudden, I'm waking up in the middle of the night, in sweats, having this incongruency inside of wanting to know the truth, but not wanting to know the truth. And this is what happens to us when we're in a breakthrough. Part of us wants to be in alignment with our intuition and in our power, but part of us is so comfortable with this oppression and pleasing this person who we think is this authority in our life. And we've got to reconcile that fear.
Absolutely. And just for clarity, like when you talked about like you were wanting to manifest this life for yourself, can you just give us like the big picture of like what you were trying to manifest and why that may have been coming to a head with, these visions, these dreams and so forth?
Yeah, good question. So, as I said, I was in my second marriage, and I had always chosen men, whether dating or marriage, men that were very conservative, men that, kind of that old hierarchical sort of relationship, protecting their image like my mother did. So, a lot of gaslighting going on. And here I was in the same pattern, feeling oppressed with my intuition. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to break through and be in this relationship and be in this personal environment where my intuition could be validated, it could be embraced, we could have true, authentic conversations. I didn't know how to get there because I was so used to doing this dance that I was taught from my mother.
Absolutely. It's there's a quote I love, misery is just as agreeable as happiness. And I feel like we don't love it, but it is agreeable and we kind of that comfortably numb stasis. Um
I like that. Exactly.
for sure. So walk us through the steps. So, you're having, you have that push and pull. So what's that like full breakthrough? Like what allowed you to get past all these things that we're talking about?
Right. So for me, it finally was I couldn't sleep at night. And it was kind of a question of am I going to go into these dreams and start being curious what they're trying to tell me, which I really believe was my intuition talking to me, or am I going to keep pushing this away? And so I went to talk to someone who said, try meditation. Now, this was way back 35 years ago before Lululemon pants and yoga studios at every corner. And
Yeah.
so I had to do some research on how to meditate. And so I began to meditate every evening in my hot tub, quieting my mind, deep breathing, and asking the question, how might I know the truth? And as I stayed focused on what it was I wanted to manifest, which was the truth of who was my birth father, suddenly it was almost like a detective story. Suddenly, pieces to the puzzle were given to me, and at the very last piece was what I needed, was to find my birth father's blood type because I'm a rare AB negative blood type, and he had to be negative because my mother was positive, and he wasn't. And I found it in a little brown box where he had donated blood one time and left this box in the basement after he died.
Huh.
So the unfoldment of that got me to be really curious, like, whoa, when I asked my intuition gave me the steps. And of course, this was before ancestry.com, where now you can pay $99 and find out those answers, right? But I was on this journey of really realizing that when I ask, and I believe I can find out, I can actually receive. It was me getting in my own way with my fear of upsetting my mom. Wonder how I can create a process to help other people. And that's how I got where I am.
That's incredible. I think in terms of the people that I meet, sometimes they're hesitant they want that solution, right? Of, manifestation and so forth, and to take the steps, right? We can prescribe them, whatever. But there's that resiliency and they almost do it in secret. So I'm kind of curious, especially since it was 35 years ago and it wasn't, as you mentioned, this more mainstream or at least accepted practice. Did you do it in shrouded in secrecy, or did you like not care what society thought and you're like, I'm doing this full on?
I love that question because it was so interesting. Because out of college, I actually started my business not too much after that. And I all of a sudden was referred into these companies. And here I am in the 80s where women weren't in the boardroom and it's me and all these old guys. I'm saying old guys, they're younger than me now, but all these old guys, I'm only a woman in the room and I'm using these practices to help them get intuitively aligned and to manifest the goals they want by identifying the fear and how it's getting in their own way and identifying the incongruency, how part of them wants this, but part of them doesn't. And I'm using these techniques, breaking through that level of consciousness, aligning them to their intuition, and I'm getting referral after referral after referral. And to answer your question directly, initially I started using words like intuition and manifesting. And oh, did I get the pushback? I remember one company said, don't you ever use that terminology again. It was the VP of a HR department, Fortune 300 company. And I'm like, okay, I got to call this something that's more mainstream. So I called it power hunches. So, I was sort of halfway in the closet with, trying to find out the right terminology that people would accept for a while.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, yeah, what is the unlock for manifestation? Right? You mentioned, I think you hinted at it, where you were in the tub and kind of meditating. So, is that the key to this? Like, is that step one?
That is part of it. I would say that's the background step, meaning we have to get self-aware. We have to become more aware of these two voices within us. One is this chattering mind, the ego, fear that's saying, don't go there, don't do that. That's not going to please somebody else. You might not get the outcome you want. And the other one is the still small voice that wants to guide us to manifest. And so the only way to open up that gateway and become very familiar with those two voices within us is to begin to meditate. So that is the beginning of the whole process of manifestation, is meditating. And the science says when you meditate 20 minutes a day, you change your brain. You create a whole new neural pathway to the upper lobes in the brain where we can manifest.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because, like, the way you explain it, right? Like, you had to. Part of that whole step was essentially healing the trauma of your 5-year-old self, and then you could start to, take the next action steps. Like, is that an accurate assessment of, for your journey at least?
Yeah, I would say that the meditation helped me to heal that childhood wound of that incongruency where that chattering mind, that ego was trying to keep me in a safe place. That's what the ego does.
Mhm.
Don't upset this authority in your life.
Mhm.
Play safe. Even that's why I was kind of in the closet for many years about calling it power hunches, right? Ooh, don't upset these clients. You're not gonna have any more clients if you keep doing that. The ego's there to kind of help protect you in safety, security, and love and belonging. And yet your intuition wants you to be really powerful and to break through that and just stand tall in who you are and trust in that manifestation. So meditation helps you do that. It helps you to quiet that ego and fully step into and align with your intuition. So that's the beginning. And that helps us to identify, here's my not goal. I don't want to upset people. I don't want to lose these clients. Yeah, that's what's controlling me. That's what's keeping me stifled and oppressed. Not them. It's my fear.
Mhm.
So we can identify that. Then when we meditate, we can now begin to ask. That's the second step of manifesting. We can ask our intuition, help me to break free from this stronghold. Help me to create something that seems absurd in this situation,
Yeah.
but you can help me do this.
So you mentioned the not goal, and I definitely want to touch upon that. But even down to like granular level of just meditation, because so I'm 36, going on 37. I don't think I've tried meditation various times. I don't know if I'm ever doing it correctly. So if there is a correct way, what does that mean? Because like you're talking about, my mind just will not shut up. It's either telling me you could be doing something else and be more productive, or there's all the worries of X, Y, and Z. Or if I'm lucky, I might just fall asleep. So I don't know if any of those are actually anywhere close to what I'm supposed to
Very
be.
common. They're very common, and that's all part of the journey of learning how to manifest. So, first of all, thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that. What I tell my clients is to just notice all that, because that is meeting your ego. Your ego is like, get busy. You got to do this. You got to do this, and don't forget this, and da-da. That's your ego. And what I want you to do in manifesting is keep breathing down into your belly. The key is the breath. Keep breathing down into your belly and kind of turn to notice that chattering mind and say, hello, ego. Wow, you really do like to keep me busy, don't you? Okay. Tell me more about that and keep breathing into it and being curious. And as you do that, as you breathe into it and you're curious and you're self aware, then at some point, because you keep breathing, you can detach from that and turn your attention over here and focus on your intuition and say, here's my question for you, intuition. How might I blank? And that's the key. The key is the observation of the chattering ego, the self awareness, and then making a choice to pivot and detach from that and ask your intuition a very specific, how might I question? And a lot of people don't go into meditation with a real specific question. How might I what? What is it you want to manifest? Maybe we can even talk about that at the end of the session if you're
Sure.
so willing.
Yes, that would be wonderful. And so I'm getting the sense, like, is it accurate to say that part of it is just going through the routine? Like initially, you're probably not necessarily going to be getting the quote results or whatever, you're going to be fighting your mind a lot. But then as you stick to it through that habitual, ongoing, day by day, as you mentioned, 20 minutes, like what do you think is like the number of days that you start to see like the turning of the mind a little bit to be like, okay, I guess we're doing this, so I might as well participate, sort of a thing.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I did a lot to working out. If you take a break from working out and you get back into it, like I remember I took a break last summer from yoga for like 6 weeks and I got back into yoga and I was like, whoa, this is really hard. And I was having a hard time not only doing the poses, but keeping my mind focused in the present moment. I wanted to stop doing yoga, but I was like, no, just stick with it, stick with it. And then after a week, it got easier. After 2 weeks, it was even easier. And in 3 weeks, I'm back in the flow again. So it's very much the same process in meditation. You're building a muscle, but it's your neural pathway. Think of it as a muscle in your mind that's getting you past it's the amygdala in your brain, that reaction center. You need to go, 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 do this, do this, do this, do this. We're building a muscle in the mind to get us past that lobe and into the upper lobes of the brain. And it just takes, 7 days you'll feel better, 14 days you'll feel better, 21 days you'll be like, whoa, this is wonderful.
Yeah. One quick thing I want to, before we get into all the steps, how can you dispel for somebody, because we're so good at coming up with excuses, right? And yes, on paper, it's a small amount of time, 20 minutes, right? But I can already hear all the naysayers being like, yeah, but I got this going on and this. So, like, just very succinctly, like, what inspiration do you have for the people that seemingly have no time whatsoever, and why should they do this outright?
Yeah, I'm going to again liken it to working out when people are like, I don't have time to work out. But then they start working out, and what happens? They start to sleep better. They have more clarity of mind. All these benefits happen. They just feel better. They're walking taller, more confident. And then they want to go work out because now they're feeling the benefits of it. The same thing happens with when we meditate. When we meditate, what happens is we get past that reaction center so much more quickly that we're able to come into this intuitive alignment in the moments that matter. Somebody's being aggressive with us, or somebody's dismissing us, or somebody is, oppressing us. And we're able to take 2 deep breaths and boom, here we are in intuitive alignment. We're like, wow, I like how this feels. And we're like, 20 minutes is a small investment to be able to come into that part of who I am.
Yeah.
So, you start to feel the benefits and you're like, That's nothing to invest in that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very much the same way. It's like, listen, whatever it costs you, it's like the cost of not doing it is going to be far greater for sure. So,
Well, and let me just say one thing. When we're not meditating, we're often making decisions out of angst, out of fear, just to like, oh my gosh, I got to this, I got to this, I got to this. And then, we get to this thing, it's like not necessarily the life we love. But when we take the time to get intuitively aligned, it's like less is more to
yeah,
create the life we love. And so we actually realize that all that busyness isn't necessary.
yeah, I agree. So that brings up the next question. So you mentioned the not goal. So explain
Mhm.
what this is and kind of expand upon what we're talking about with the not goal.
Yeah, we can't manifest from not. I don't want to have a failing marriage. I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to fail. It can go on and on and on, right? Well, intuition is hearing us say that, but intuition is like, okay, great, I'm here to help you, but what do you want from me? Ask me, how might I question? I get what you don't want, but you haven't told me what you want. And in the meantime, your ego's going, yeah, yeah, don't fail, yeah, don't get hurt, don't get, and by having a not goal, you're activating that ego protection over you, but your intuition is sitting here saying, hey, look, I'm over here. I'll help you manifest anytime. You just give me the right question so I can guide you in the direction you want to go. And so I want to say that the first step of identifying the not goal is important. You do want to say, hey, look, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to fail. Okay, great. Well, what do you want then? Let's work on expanding that because what we focus on expands. How do you want to be successful? How do you want to manifest money? How do you want to feel safe and secure? Let's talk about that and manifest that. See, now I'm stepping into the asking in the world of manifesting, which is the second step. Ask, how might I be financially successful? How might I? What is it?
And you want as much specificity, correct? Because I a lot of times, right, the age old example is like, oh, I want to make more money this year, and someone hands you $1. It's like, well, there you made more money. It's like, well, that's not what
Right,
I
right.
meant. So of
Yeah,
course, it's that
exactly.
right. It's that specificity of
Yeah, exactly. So the more clear you are with your intuition, the more clear it can help you get there. So it's kind of like your GPS. If you put in your GPS, hey, Florida, I want to get to Florida. GPS is like, hello, where in Florida? Where are we going? Right? But
yes.
if you say, I want to go to this address in Florida, it'll give you the very specific route to get there. And our intuition is like our internal GPS. So the more clear you can be on the destination, the more your intuition can help you to get there.
So I'm curious if I can bring it back to you. Yeah, how has this played out in your life with the not goal and then the specifics?
Yeah. So, I'll have to admit back to your question about was I kind of in the closet in my younger years of my career? I have to say that I was a single mom because, my marriage ended in a divorce. And I was asking a question to my intuition. How might I continue to be a consultant that makes a difference in the workplace? Brings people to a higher level of consciousness where I can work X amount of dollars so I can raise my kids in the same household and same neighborhood. But it was kind of like playing it safe. Like I can be who I am, I can make this amount of money, I can give my kids a good lifestyle. Oh, and I added to the equation, I want to work 9 to 4 because I want to be there to get my kids, off to school and I want to be home when they get off the bus. So, intuition was great. I manifested exactly what I wanted. I made a really nice living going into corporations, teaching, about power hunches and a little bit about raising your level of consciousness. And we lived a, nice lifestyle. I even, one of my things in my equation was I want to work part-time in the summer so I could be home with the kids more. It's just lovely. But then when the kids got older and they went away to college and now they're both married and they have children, I'm asking a different question. And the different question is, how might I get the real secret steps out to the world and how to raise your level of consciousness and manifest? Period. End of story. I don't even care if I'm making money doing it. I don't care if somebody's offended. So, it's asking the right question to manifest what you want. So that's how it played out in my work life. In my personal life, after my divorce, I realized that I don't think I want to be married. I fell into that traditional trap of a woman should be married. And I realized marriage really isn't for me. So, how might I be happy not being married? And that's what I'm manifesting now. And it's great. But again, that was really breaking an old mold around, well, everybody should be married to be happy, right? Well, no, not really.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, it
So
goes back to being honest and asking for what you really want.
So let's talk about that honesty aspect because I know I keep going back to the not goal, right? But sometimes we think we know what the not goal is, but it feels like sometimes it's a little bit different. Like whatever's holding us back, it might be kind of a wound that we don't want to go anywhere near, and so we don't get to that truth. So
Mm.
I don't know. Am I a? I guess is that true from your experience for people, and if so, I guess how do they overcome that to get to that full honesty?
I think it's really paying attention that if you start out asking for what you're asking and you're getting it, because you will get it for whatever you're asking, it's checking in with self. It's always going to that level of self awareness and saying, am I really happy? Does this really bring me joy, or am I not being honest with myself? So, for example, in me asking, hey, I want to get this out, the world out of gut intelligence and manifesting in every way I can. And now all of a sudden I'm getting all this work, to do. And maybe sometimes I'm not getting paid for it. Does that really make me happy? And then if I'm like, oh, I don't like the way that feels, I want to do that and make money. So now I can check, I can change my question, right? Or let's say I am single and say, no, I've realized I don't like to be married. So how can I just be happy, having a single life? And let's say I'm doing that. It's really abundant, but let's say I'm really not happy. Or I might tweak that a little bit then. I might say, oh, well, yeah, maybe I don't want to be married, but maybe I want to have a significant other. So how might I enjoy this abundant work life and have a significant other in my life where it flows? See, so we're always tweaking by realizing, do I feel in alignment when I receive that? And am I feeling joy?
Yeah, I
And
like
it's
that.
okay to tweak along the way.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because I think there's this misnomer of like, okay, we have to pick something and then we stick with it, and then we either succeed. And it's one of those things that, okay, careful what you wish for, sort of thing. Like I thought I wanted this, but maybe I don't, or you don't, And so I love the idea that we can constantly readjust as we get new information as life happens. I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can I tell you a story about this? And this is kind
Yeah.
of on the QT because I've actually not told this to anyone else but Alex. So after I sold my big house on the lake, it was really a hard market to find another house on the lake. Long story short, I manifested my house on the lake now, which was exactly what I was looking for. I was picturing in my mind's eye the size, the price, the location, everything. Turned out one of my clients who lived in this house got a job. I helped her get a job out of state, a promotion. And I'm like, don't put your house on the market. Well, anyway, I've been here for 2.5 years now. And at first I loved it, but now I'm starting to feel like I don't know that I want a house on the lake anymore. And then part of me is like, what? You manifested this. This was such a blessing. And I'm like, yeah, it was for the first couple of years, but I think I'm ready for something else and to shift that because I've shifted. And that's part of the evolution is to be in the present moment. And as you receive the manifesting that you asked for, keep checking in, see if something's evolved. Maybe it doesn't fit for you anymore, and be okay with being authentic about that. That does not mean you were wrong. That does not mean you failed. Those are all ego things that we tell ourselves. It means something shifted. That's all.
Yeah. That's well, thank you for sharing. That's an incredible story on as all of your stories. So I truly appreciate that. So getting, and I apologize to the listeners. We've been, the part that Susan's talking about, the push and pull. I feel like I've been doing that where we get to step one, then we're getting to step two, but then I go back to step one again. So now sort of more moving into the step two of manifesting what you want. That focus to really expand. Like, can you talk about, I know you have science and I know you have like amazing words, and I love that you keep it so very colloquial, right? Where everyone can understand it. But talk to me about, like, once that focus gets in on what you actually want, like things just start to expand, and I'm just curious about, I've had that sensation a few times, but you've certainly had it way more than me. So I'd love to get your perspective on that.
Well, let me go back and explain these steps back to my house story, okay?
Yep.
So, sold the house. I'm asking, how might I find another house? Because we always have to have that question, right? Real short, ask question. How might I blank? How might I find another house on the lake that's half the size? Because I had a 5,000 square foot house. I didn't want that. The kids, bought their own homes. I'm like, oh, I don't need all that. I want 2,500 square feet. So how might I find another house on the lake, 2,500 square feet? So I'm in my masculine energy. Even though I've asked my intuition, I'm not really believing. That's step number two, that my intuition is going to deliver in this really difficult market where houses are going like this and people are paying over asking price. And, so I'm like, okay, well, I asked you, but you're not delivering on time. So I'm going to really work really hard. I had my realtor showing me all these houses and everything till one day I go to see a house and a dog next door comes and bites me. Long story short, they just moved there. They didn't measure the leash that the dog was on. The dog went over the property line and bit me. I had big scars right here. Anyway, that was a wake-up call to be like, I'm trying too hard in my masculine energy. And I just want to pause here right now because I want everyone to think about how when they have asked their intuition to help them manifest, but part of them is like, I asked you, but you're not doing it as fast as I want you to and how I want you to. So you know what? I'm going to double check you by really, really working hard on my own. Right. And then we come to this point where like, oh, this isn't working. So that's when I surrendered. Now, when we surrender, we're really going to the third step in manifesting, which is believing, which is admitting I'm working way too hard. I believe you got this. If you really want me to get a house on the lake, you're just going to drop this in my lap. So all we're doing now is focusing on what would that look like and how would that feel if we got that. I'm seeing myself walk into my new house. I'm seeing the wood floors. I'm seeing the white cabinets. I'm seeing the view. And I'm feeling like every day I'm there. Well, when she got this job and I knew she'd lived on the lake, I'm like, whoa, don't put it up for sale. Can I come see your house? Guess what happened? I walk in the door, the exact wood floors, the exact white cabinets, and there's the view I saw.
That's incredible.
And I just knew. And I just knew. But I had to ask, believe, and receive. Those are the steps. Get rid of the not goal. Ask, believe, and receive. Like truly be open to say, I do trust. I do know you've got this. I'm just focusing on what it's going to look like and how it's going to feel.
Yeah. That's the part that I think, at least for me, is the hardest. You use the word belief, but there's a quote that I really like: belief clings while faith lets go. And so for me, I'm in that step, and like you, I'm like, okay, I have to just put in the work, because if I'm not putting in the work, then the universe is not going to deliver, God, whatever else. So It's like, I got to show that I'm ready for it. And yeah, I guess if there is a barrier to anything that I do, it's I'm stuck in that step two and I just can't let go and surrender. So help me, Susan. Help us
Well, let's
surrender.
do it right now. Are you willing to like do it right now? Like
Sure.
open yourself up?
Yeah, I'm an open book, so I'll have
Okay.
to.
Because what you're experiencing is normal. That's why I'll go back first of all to my mother childhood thing. I couldn't produce the truth because I was afraid, and it wasn't until I let go and I started meditating. What is the chance of finding a little brown box with my father's blood type where he donated blood one time in the basement? What is the chance with this lake thing that I told you about? That all of a sudden, boom, there it is. And exactly as I meditated. It's all about this letting go and believing and receiving, which we all have a hard time with because we all believe if we work harder, we're going to get it. So in your life, where's that showing up?
So I think the best example would be, so I've been developing this 2D animated movie, and we've created all the stuff. We have the script, we have the pitch material, proof of concept, all that good stuff, and now it's pitching it to investors, studios, and so forth to get it off the ground. And in my mind, it's like flood the market every day. We need to be doing something. If we're not doing something, we're not doing enough. Um, and as opposed to, okay, just pick a few strategic places, you know, do it in the right way. And then just know in your heart of hearts, like it's Hollywood. It's going to take, you'll get an email, then you won't get one for 8 months. That's not a negative. It's just, that's the way it is. And, and act accordingly. But that's not my regular, mode of operation.
So, what if we flip that and we had your intuition lead? So, let's just imagine right now it's your morning and you're
Mhm.
waking up and you're already deciding to surrender to your intuition as being the head of this project. And so let's do a little meditation together and let me walk you through that so you can see how this shift occurs.
Sure.
So I'd like you to just close your eyes and I'll
Okay.
close my eyes with you. And I want you to just breathe into the center of your heart by breathing in your nose and out your mouth. And you're going to notice to the left over here, your ego's chattering, saying, oh my gosh, we might lose some viewers who don't want to do this meditation with us, or how long is Susan going to take? Whatever the fear is, just notice it and don't resist it. Just, it's there. Just hear it, whatever it is. And come down into your belly and breathe through your nose and out your mouth. And again, that chattering voice is right there. Just hear it. What is it telling you? We're going to breathe one more step way down into your belly. What I want you to do now is shift your attention over to the right, which is where your intuition is. And I want you to look up into your mind's eye. And with a deep breath into your belly, I want you to ask your intuition this question: how might I find the investors we need and whatever else we need to get to the next level? What are my next steps? How might I find my next steps and next results? And just take another deep breath. Just see anything that might come to you. Maybe it's a name, maybe it's a word, maybe it's a vision. Just breathe. And then with a deep breath, I want you to listen into your left ear and lean into that left ear and hear that still small voice that tells you how to get to this next level. You want a breakthrough. You want wisdom. How do you do that? Listen in that left ear. Is it money you need right now? Is it a producer? What is it? Ask for it and ask, how might I get it? Just breathe real slowly into your gut. And by now, your mind is chattering. It's telling you it's not possible. It's telling you it's a crowded market. It's telling you all these things to try to oppress you, protect you. Just notice that, but breathe past it and come down into your gut and say, if I were not afraid, what would I know for sure? And just breathe deeply. I want you to bow your head as though in humble reverence for your intuition. Now lean back into that left ear one more time. What did you hear? You don't have to say it out loud, but just listen. Take another deep breath. And one last look to the right side of your mind's eye. What do you see? What do you see as your next steps to further you along this journey? Take a deep breath. Okay, tell me what came to you, Phil.
What came to me? So the idea that it's a worthwhile project, it's a good project, and rather than just shove it down anyone's throat. Sorry for the analogy; it's not the best, but
Mhm,
that the right partner will come along, and
mhm,
much like I need space on certain big decisions, they need the space for certain big
mhm,
decisions, and when the right person or people decide that they want to be in, like me, they'll be fully committed.
mhm.
So
So I'm hearing trust.
yeah, yeah,
Trust in the timing. Trust and allow in the right partner. Trust and allow in the timing that you're in a stage right now of surrender and trust. Be still and know I am. That's a Bible verse. Be still and know I am. It's like you're in this place of stillness right now where you're supposed to just be with it. It's kind of like my house thing, like be with imagining it. You got the house, you got the show, you got the investor, you got the partner. Be with it, see it. You might not see the face of the partner, but feel the energy of it. Feel what it feels like for somebody else to be as excited as you and to want to invest in it. Imagine what that's all going to feel like in your life to have that and just be in that as though it will all unfold in perfect timing. That's what I'm hearing your intuition said.
yeah.
Trust the timing, just be with it.
Yeah, I think so. So that was
That's how we manifest. Ask, believe, and part of that believing is feeling it, and then you will receive it. So, what I'm hearing is that you're in the step of believing right now. You've asked, but darn it, it hasn't come as fast as you want, when you want, how you want. And this is when our ego starts to go, chatters again, right? But it's a reminder to us to be like, okay, this is an act of surrender, of really believing. Step in as though it is and feel all of that and open yourself up and say, I trust. That's when we manifest. Very normal.
yeah.
Hardest step, in my opinion, in the whole
I
manifestation process.
I think so. Just to maybe give some context to it all, right? Like I think um, the experience for me, right, as short as it was about shutting out the world, right? And I appreciate that because especially now it feels like you can't turn anywhere. I have this joke like even if I could watch the news 24 hours a day, I still wouldn't be caught up, right? And for me personally, coming off of the LA fires and seeing kind of what's happening. It just feels like the world's just grabbing at your attention. And this feels very much like it's not ignoring that stuff, but finding your place within all that, and that you don't have to add to the chaos. Because I think, speaking to that effect too, in my nervous energy of wanting to push the project forward, I think people can sense that energy of like, okay, he's just pushing this, and then they're standoffish of like, okay, this guy's not correct to work with. So,
Oh my gosh, everything you said, I'm just taking it all in. It was so good. I want to go back to a couple of the points, which I thought were so brilliant. Let's talk about the LA fires, right?
sure.
And and let's say you're listening to the news and and it's going to take forever to rebuild and everybody's shut down and and it would be so easy for the ego to grab all of that and say, listen, buddy, it's not going to happen now. Everybody is frozen, scared. It's going to take years to rebuild LA. So, sorry about that. Because the ego wants to try to protect us. And like you said, then we're in that anxious energy and then we're operating from that. And then people are sensing that nothing's manifesting. I love the way when you went like this. It's detaching. That's one of the steps of the levels of consciousness. We are self-aware that this angst and getting in this with everybody isn't working. So I'm going to detach and stay right here and just believe. Step number 2 or 3, right? I'm just going to believe that this is going to happen, even though the whole world is telling me it's falling apart. I'm just going to stay focused on believing and receiving. And I'm going to shift my energy. And by shifting that, maybe I'm the only one that gets funding in the next year, but it's because I asked, I believed, and I'm open to receive. I'm focusing on this, not Velcroing all that out there. I
Yeah.
love the way you said that. That was great. That's exactly right. So more time meditating produces exactly what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's when they say like someone's low energy or someone has high energy, it's not a coincidence, right? Like if they have low energy, you feel it and you're kind of just like sucked into it and you're like, I'm tired. I don't want to be around this person. Or if they're high energy, yeah, it's an infectious thing. And you're like, oh wow, I really enjoy being around this person.
Right. And let's even define that further because I love that. Low energy meaning depression, meaning they don't believe. And we can feel that. And it's like, hey, if you don't believe, like, why should I believe? Right? Like, ooh, I don't be there. High energy, if it's too high, it can feel anxious, like pushing, like, whoa, okay, that's high energy, but that feels like, whoa, pushing too much for me. And at some level, we intuitively know that's not believing either. But if somebody is just like right here, in their alignment, just knowing, like, I just know.
Yeah.
Like that clear, calm, and confident energy feels so good. We want to bask in that with somebody. And our intuition can feel we're wide open to receive. Because, I'm clear, I'm calm, and I'm confident, I'm trusting. You're my partner in this universe. You put this on my heart, you're going to make it happen.
So that's the fourth step is receiving it. Would that be correct? Now, what do you say to someone like me that's like, wait, what's the catch?
What's the catch to receiving?
Well, in the sense that like, okay, so, whatever, because we're talking about very big aspirational goals, but at the same time, even if it's a lesser goal, I think someone like me that has, that propensity towards negativity, I'm like, okay, well, how long is this going to last? Is it really true? What's the catch? What's the thing that I'm not seeing in all of this?
Right. Okay. So there's a couple questions there. Let me answer them. I love those all. So first of all, it is when we're going for the big thing, like what you're going for in your dream, right? That's a dream. And we can play the doubting Thomas in that if we haven't practiced on some of the smaller things. So what I say to my client is practice with something small. Like I call it the parking lot manifestation. And I did this with my kids a lot when they were little. Ask Alex. It cracks her up. We would go somewhere. It didn't matter if it was a fair. It didn't matter if it was the shopping mall, and it'd be super crowded. And I go, watch me manifest the best parking spot ever. And I go, Lord, and I would say, Lord, you could say universe. It doesn't matter, whatever you want to call it. Lord, I know that when we ask and we believe, we receive. So I'm asking you for the best parking spot ever. Show Alex and her friends in the back seat how this works. And then I would just act as though it's going to happen. I'd say, let's turn up the music and just celebrate that we're going to get the parking spot ever. And we'd go down the aisle, and sure enough, somebody would pull out, and there we would be right in the front. And then she'd say, my mother, this happens all the time. She's a manifester. Then we do it with something bigger. What might be bigger? For Christmas, they want to get, I actually did this with my grandson. It's a really big teddy bear. How can we find a really big teddy bear? Well, what's the chance of this happening? We stop at the grocery store to pick something up on the way home. They literally have a box, and there's one huge big teddy bear on it. Half price for $25. This thing is so big. It was bigger than him. It was this big. It looked like it was about $150 teddy bear. And I'm like, well, we manifested that because we so ask, believe, receive. When you practice on the littler things, when it comes to something bigger, suddenly you don't go into this place of angst. Like, oh, that was a big ask. That was a big ask. I don't know. Maybe that's not going to happen. And then see, that's how we shut down. You're like, no, I'm a manifester. I can make this happen. So what I want you to do is I want you to practice this on the little things and then go bigger and go bigger and go bigger. So when you are asking the big ask, it's like, it's no big deal. I'm a manifester. You don't go and shut down to this place of angst.
I love that. Amazing.
It's practice. You're developing the muscle. Let me give you the science behind it, okay?
Yes,
Because I
please.
know sometimes this can sound like a bunch of woo-woo, right? I want you to picture your head as a circle. I want you to divide it into 4 quadrants. These are the 4 lobes in our brain. The first lobe in our brain it's called the amygdala. Okay, so it's the front lobe, it's the amygdala. That's our reaction center. Our gut, there's a vagus nerve that's attached to our head. A vagus nerve that goes from our gut all the way up to our head. It's called the gut-brain axis. The first lobe we go into is the reaction center. That's where we have fear, self-doubt, and judgment. Anytime we get a gut alert, we ask to manifest something, we have to pass that lobe of fear. That's where the ego is. Oh, who do you think you are to get funding when the whole, California has been burnt down? Phil, that's not going to happen. Everybody's just rebuilding. See, there it is. Boom, 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 boom. More you meditate, the more you notice that you're like, oh, I'm familiar with that voice. I'm not going in that lobe. It's like a room in the house. I'm not going there. Okay. The second lobe in the brain is the strategic center. That's where we do what you talked about. Okay, I'm just going to work hard. I'm going to lay out all my strategies, and I'm just going to make my phone calls, mail my things, go into my LinkedIn contacts. I'm going to strategize. Well, we all know we get really burnt out from that, right?
Yeah.
After you visited that house in your brain and manifesting, you're like, okay, sometimes that works, but man, that's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
What you do is you create a whole new neural pathway where you're like going into a whole different room in the house in my brain. This is where we have intuition. What we have to do is quiet. We have to darken those 2 rooms, turn the lights out, pull down the shades, breathe deeply, and ask your intuition, how might I get blank? How might I get the funding, the partner that I need? And just be still and know I am. Ask, believe, receive. Know that when you do that, you light up. It's called the parietal lobe. Science has shown on brain scans that when we quiet those 2 lower lobes and we focus on our question, They can see when a person gets the answer and they're enlightened, they actually see activation in that lobe. Like call so and so or reach out to so and so or just wait for so and so. They're going to be your person. They're just not ready yet. Like when we know they see that getting activated. Now, here's where the real magic happens. The last lobe. Remember how I said I knew? Stop looking for a house. Just trust you'll get it. They didn't tell me how, just trust. So I just focused on visualizing it. The last lobe is called the occipital lobe. When we focus on visualizing what we want to receive, ask, believe, receive. We're focusing on receiving it. We're feeling it. We're seeing it. We actually take the neurons, neurotransmitters, and hormones from our belly up that vagus nerve into the occipital lobe and we send them out to the universe. That's how we create, it's quantum physics. That's how we create synchronicity. And we've all done it where people have said, I was just thinking about you, or I was just having that thought, or I was just wondering how I should invest my money, or I was like just thinking, wouldn't it be fun to invest in a show? And you are like, shit, it just all came together. It shifted. That's how we do it. So we have to master quieting the mind, listening to intuition, and then after we get the message, believing and focusing on just opening up that occipital lobe and receiving it. It's almost like a catcher's glove. Like you told me, now I'm opening up to receive it. Boom. That's where synchronicity happens.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, it's we have so many of these limiting beliefs in terms of, again, how society pushes us and how we should move about in the world. But really, less is always more. The right, because it allows you to be open to the things you want to be open to and whatnot. So I really appreciate this. In some sense, I'm a little lost because we did such inner work. I'm still like coming out of my shell. So
That makes
fumbling for
sense.
words. Yeah. Yeah. It's always an
Well,
interesting
let me wrap
experience.
up by saying this. I meditate every morning. And sometimes I hear just be still and do nothing and trust. So, what do I do for the day? I go about my day just being like that little child that just trusts. Children do that, right? I just trust I'm going to be fed. I just trust it's going to be okay. And then I'm joyful and I focus on that unfolding and the excitement of Christmas morning's going to come. Whatever that Christmas morning is that you're hoping for. But other times when I meditate in the morning, I hear specific guidance, like reach out to so and so or work on this more so you're more clear. So when it does come to you, you're speaking more clearly. So if that's okay, well, that's my directive for today. That's what I'm going to do. So it's more inspired action
Mhm.
versus what I call perspired action. The perspired action is that second lobe, that strategy, and I got to work, 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 work. No, 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 not doing that. Only doing it when I feel inspired to do it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much. I mean, truly, I know. The fact that we got to work on me, but I do think, for the sake of the audience, like I think a lot of people can extract that. I think there's a lot of people, filmmakers or want to be in TV, but also it applies to any art form, right? Musicians, authors, and stuff like that. And of course, the larger context of what we've been talking about applies to everyone. But I do want to give you the opportunity. You're such an amazing coach and just a font of wisdom. So where can people like directly, perhaps reach out? Of course, there's the book Shift among all your other books as well. That's available on Amazon. But for you specifically, how can they kind of keep in touch or keep in the loop?
Sure. Yeah, I would love for people to reach out. That'd be great. They can find out more about me on my website. BIZremedies, BIZremedies.com. And if they go on there, they'll find all my books and they can click the links and that can send them to where they want to go. They can find different programs that are very specific for what they're looking for. And they can also find my email if they want to reach out and just ask me a question. I would love to hear from them.
Perfect. And just in case, you're driving or whatever, and you didn't get to write that down, it is all provided in the description box. So you just click that and that'll take you to Susan's website. Well, truly, truly, thank you. I continue to be in awe of you and blessed to have you in my life, as well as Alex and, all this. You know what? Let's bring it back to Alex because, I think she's a perfect example of all of the work and she is just such a, from my vantage point, an amazing human being. And so, again,
can I tell you her story? Because I really think
ahead.
It goes with this manifesting. Because I know you know her, but you might not know all these details. So, when she was really little, really little, I think she was 5 or 6 years old. She's like, Mom, one day I'm going to be on TV. And I said, great. How do you know that? I just know, Mom. I said, okay. Well, instead of telling her how to do it, I said, well, how are you going to do that? She goes, I don't know yet, but when I know, I'll let you know. So she gets into Madison, which is a, great school. And in Madison, I'm like, so what are you going to take for college? She goes, I don't know. And I go, well, do you still want to be on TV? Yeah, I want to be on TV. And I said, okay, well, you'll know when you know. So she was taking communication classes. She wasn't taking anything that seemed like it was related to TV. And I feel a little bit of angst, like I wanted to start to control her and guide her, but I'm like, no, my job is to keep asking her to tap into her intuition. So I just kept on asking where she was at and what her plan was. And she's like, I don't know, I'll let you know. Well, all of a sudden she's going into her senior year and she calls me up one day and she goes, Mom, I figured it out. I said, great. What did you figure out? She said, I'm going to be Miss Wisconsin. Well, she had never been in pageants or anything. And I said, and I remember being on the phone thinking, how'd she come up with that? These girls start at this age, but I knew not to, be that negative ego chattering mind. So I said, well, how'd you come up with that? She goes, well, I did research on the internet and I see a lot of these people come up through the pageants. I said, okay, is that what your intuition is telling you? And she said, yes. And I said, okay, well, when's the pageant? It was in 3 months. I'm like, and I thought, breathe into this, don't go into fear. And I'm like, okay, well, what are our next steps? And then she kind of, said what they were. Well, we didn't know what we were doing. So we end up going, this is the funniest part of the story. I didn't know there were these pageant places you get dresses. So we end up going to I didn't know where else to get a long dress. We go to a bridal place because I'm asking, where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? I hear, go to David's Bridal. What is the chance that we go to David's Bridal and the woman who's the consultant at the pageant used to be a pageant lady, and she pulls off the rack a sequin dress that happened to be on sale, that happened to be Alex's color, that happened to fit her like a glove. And she goes, oh my gosh, she would be beautiful in this. Anyway, long story short, she won the first round. And so she's going to the national competition. And I said, what do you want to manifest at the national competition? She's like, oh, I don't want to be Miss USA. She said, I just want to get a TV gig. So I said, well, walk across the stage and you just walk across with, I'm your next TV host. Sure enough, an NBC agent who was a judge picked her up, signed her up. She got on TV. She got as big as the fifth market, which was Texas. And her TV show got syndicated in 10 states. And at that point, she said, Mom, I decided I don't like this. This goes back to what you're talking about pivoting. She goes, I don't think I really like that. I just want to get an agent and have some big gigs. So she got William Morris to sign her up. She hosted the Miss USA competition, the AMCs or whatever they're called, backstage with one of the Backstreet Boys, Kelly Pickler, all this stuff. She did that for a couple of years. And then she said, Mom, I don't really like that. I really just want to have my own platform. And now she's and she's on Instagram and she's an influencer. But this goes back to what you're saying. We ask, she believed, she received, she got in it. And then it's like, oh, time to pivot. Ask, believe, receive. Oh, time to pivot. And she's like, Mom, I wouldn't change anything. I love my platform now. I think she works 1 day a week and she makes a lot of money.
No, she's amazing. I mean, I just love the aspect of it. She won the competition, as Miss Wisconsin, and then to host it like the Miss USA, a few years later. I love that. That's
But
my
she's a
favorite.
little manifester because she takes the time. Like, no one's going to rush her. She's going to take the time to figure it out. And when she's clear, yep, this is it. She totally trusts and is just so in her feminine energy of receiving. And then it always happens for her. It's just amazing. She teaches me a lot. She really is amazing.
She absolutely is. Well, truly thank you for sharing so much information of yourself and of course, Alex. I'll link her stuff as well since we talked about her. I feel like she needs to get something out of this as well since we used to have
She'll
to
get a
getting
kick
big.
out of it. I told her we were doing this today, and actually afterwards I'm going to go help her with the baby so she can film her bit for her platform.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And for anyone watching, if you have any other questions, comment down below. Again, get in touch with Susan. But if we pick up enough comments, who knows? Maybe I can coerce you to do a part 2.
I would love it. No, you won't have to force me. This is fun. Thank you so much.